Good day and welcome to lesson number 6, Writing a Concept Paper. For this lesson, we have the following objectives. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to define a concept, differentiate the different approaches to explaining a concept, and determine the use of a concept paper. Now, before we move on to the discussion of the actual lesson, just a brief overview. I will be dividing the discussion into two major parts. Part 1 is going to be the definition of the term concept and the types of concept explanations. And then I will proceed to part 2, which is going to discuss the concept paper, the different types of concept papers, and the format for the different kinds of concept papers as well. So let's begin. What are concepts? According to vocabulary.com, a concept is a general idea about a thing or a group of things derived from specific instances or occurrences. On another hand, Stanford Encyclopedia defines a concept as a building block of thoughts. And to give you a brief background as to the etymology of the word concept, it comes from the Latin term concipere, which means to conceive. Now, in order for us to explain a concept, there are essentially three ways on how this can be done. First is through the use of definition, second, through explication, and third, clarification. For definition, this is a method of concept explanation which has something to do with making abstract ideas clearer by providing the meaning of an abstract concept. Usually, this is done through the use of a dictionary. And we do it because we want to answer the question, what does a concept mean? So a definition is composed of two things. One is the term to be defined, and two, the detailed exposition of the term using illustrations, examples, and descriptions. Okay? Now, under the general scope of a definition, there are three specific types. First is the informal definition, second is the formal definition, and lastly, you have the extended definition. For informal definition, all you have to do is fulfill the bare necessities. First is the term to be defined, and then the next part is the brief explanation or exposition of the term or a concept. As exemplified here, tocopherol or vitamin E is naturally found in vegetable oil, fish, and nuts. This is the informal definition. But when we step it up and transform it into a formal definition, we include the term to be defined, the general category of the term where it belongs, and add the quality that makes that item or term unique from other items in the same category. As an example, vitamin E is a light yellow, fat-soluble vitamin that acts as an antioxidant. As you can see in the example, it is color-coded. The term to be defined is vitamin. Okay, this is the exposition. Blue or genus, the general category of the term, is antioxidant. And then the unique feature of the item is that vitamin E is the only one that is light yellow in color and is fat soluble. Okay. Stepping it up further, when we create an extended definition, this is now a more complicated form because we are going to combine the informal and formal definitions as well as add other entries such as comparisons, contrasts, narrations, descriptions, etc. Now, to give you an example, here is a paragraph showing a sample of an extended definition. If you want to read through the entire material, you may pause this video now. Okay, moving on. We have explication. Now, explication is a method of explanation used mainly for literary criticism. This is done by snipping certain lines, phrases, verses, or even the entire text itself, and then interpreting or explaining them in detail. You may remember in the last lesson where we discussed about literary approaches. You may use one, two, or even all of the approaches in order for you to explicate these lines, phrases, verses, or even the entire text itself. Okay, so this type of concept explanation is focused mainly on your interpretation or explanation of a text based on a literary approach. If you want to read a sample poem explication, you may access the link that I have provided down below. Lastly, we have clarification. Okay, this entails the analysis of a concept by looking at the examples or breaking down an item into the examples and then specifying its characteristics in order for us to arrive to one working definition. So in simpler terms, you take a concept, break it down into its components, and then explain those components. This is done so we can have a general understanding of the concept as a whole. Okay, so that wraps up part 1. For part 2, we begin with the application of concept explanation, and this is done when we write concept papers. Okay, so a concept paper is usually an academic paper that is submitted prior to the submission of a project proposal or even a research proposal. It also provides an overview of the project or research, which then allows the stakeholders, your research teachers, or even the panelists to have a clear understanding of the foundations of a project or research that you wish to undertake. This is done for the purpose of funding in terms of the project or approval in terms of the research. So a concept paper typically answers the following questions. First, what is the project or research all about? Second, what are the reasons for conducting the said project or research? And third, how will the project or research be carried out? Now, these guidelines, these questions and concepts are provided by Sipasio and Barrett in 2016. But why do we use concept papers? Why do we write them in the first place? Well, aside from giving you an overview of a project or research, first, it specifically serves as the foundation to a full project proposal. Second, it also helps in determining the feasibility of a project before it is implemented. Third, it is used to pique the interest of potential funding agencies. And lastly, it is also used to gather important feedback regarding the presented ideas before preparing the full proposal. As an analogy, think of a concept paper as your movie trailer. It allows the audience to become hooked or interested in a movie by giving them a movie trailer. That way, they get an idea as to what the movie might be all about. But this is simply to pique the interest and to get an initial glimpse into the content of a project or research before it is proposed to your stakeholders or to your panel members. Okay, so when talking about concept papers, there are two major types. First is the concept paper written for a project, and the second is a concept paper written for a research. For the concept paper under project proposals, there are 5 major parts. We have the cover page, the introduction, the rationale or the background, the project description, and the project needs and cost. Now, if you want to read the specific contents of each part, you may pause this video. Okay, for the concept paper, however, for a research paper, there are more components. There are 7 major parts. First is the title page. Second is the background of the study. Third is the preliminary literature review. Fourth is the statement of the problem or of the objectives. 5 is the abridged methodology. 6 is the timeline. And 7, you have your references. Okay, I believe that we have gone through the following objectives. We have defined what a concept is. We have differentiated the different approaches to explaining a concept, and we have determined the use of a concept papers as well as the different types of concept papers. And I believe that signals the end of our lesson for today. Again, this is Sir Dardar wishing everyone a great day ahead. Class dismissed.